and welcome to the Wednesday LiveStream from Dulcimer Crossing. Today we're going to focus on one of the questions that was talked about with one of our people who likes to come to our live stream every week. This is a question about how do we pick up our sound? And I'm going to let me share my screen because we'll see. Let's not share my screen yet. We're going to go through a logical progression. But this particular one, I want to thank Talon Chambers for bringing this up, um, because this is a question that is a live one for a lot of us in the acoustic instrument world. But we're going to look at it from an electric perspective as well. So my name is Steve Uhlberg, and I am one of the co-founders and owners of Dulcimer Crossing, and that's who sponsors this Wednesday live stream every week. So we are talking about how do we get the sound, and I'm using a different microphone right now. I'm using a Shure SM58, which is the workhorse, the mighty microphone. Has and just to If we're going to pick up sound, we're going to have some way of capturing it. That's where pickup comes from, right? In our ear, there is a tympanum, which is the Latin word that is like a drum. And when vibrations in the air hit that, they get translated into electrical signals that go to our brain, which our brain interprets as sound. And that's what a microphone is. It's got some kind of a membrane which is vibrating, translating any kind of vibrations in the air into an electrical signal that goes through this cable into a way for us to hear it. This is a dynamic cardioid microphone. It's dynamic, but it's got a cardioid pattern, um, which means it tends to pick up more in front of it directly, this is called the eat your mic kind of microphone. And that's why this has been the standard for a lot of musicians, singers, particularly vocalists. It's not necessarily the crispest or the best for capturing instrumental sound, particularly strings. And there are betas. There are several different brands. This just happens to be the one that's the workhorse. You can see it's supposed to be round, but this one has been dropped and banged a few times in its years of service. And I've got it all the way up in my interface to the computer so you can hear it. It's all the way up right now. Now I'm going to change microphone. And now I'm using my Audio Technica, which is this one right here. It has an option of several different patterns. It can be a complete surround thing. It can be the kind of thing that catches everything so that a whole bunch of instrumentalists can be gathered around it to have that kind of a bluegrass experience, the bluegrass dance around the microphones, where you have instruments coming in and out. It can be cardioid. It can be um, and it can be kind of infinity. It can pick up everything. What's different about this is a condenser microphone, and it has a very large diaphragm. It's called a large diaphragm mic. This one's an Audio Technica 4050, and it's good for picking up vocals and the precise kind of sounds that stringed instruments particularly use. Now, that is the one I'm using completely right now. I'm going to turn that one down. Okay, how about now? Well, it tells you. Is that better? about now? Okay. I got this one. I got this one back on. This is what I use for vocals, and this is what I use. And I'm seeing a signal going in, so I'm hoping it comes, but this is what I use for those. The idea is there are several different ways to pick up our acoustic sound by having a membrane that vibrates. Our instrument creates vibration as we pluck or strum or hammer it, and as it goes through the air, okay, good. You can hear both. As it goes through the air, you can see this wasn't so great for my voice. This is more, it's aimed away from me. It's aimed to get the brightness of the instrument. What it's doing is translating the vibrations that the strings make through the air, through this membrane into an electrical signal, which then goes out to the world. Now, we are not dealing with amplifiers right now, but that's going to be a piece of the issue of what we're talking about. So the question for acoustic instrumentalists is always, how do I get my sound from here to there? And from the listener's perspective, how can I hear what they're doing over there? I always say for hammer dulcimers, for example, the player is in the best seat in the house because I've got sound hole here, I've got sound holes on the bottom rail, I've got sound holes there, I've got one sound hole in the back, which is the handle. The sound is coming all around me. No one can hear the sound better than me because I'm in the best seat. But how can I translate that best to other people? And that's where finding the right location for the microphones, finding the right microphones, having them set at the right levels can help other people hear that kind of sound also. So if you're looking on YouTube and you see a lot of the videos that were created during the 50s, 60s, 70s, it started to shift. Certainly in the 80s it started to shift, but almost always if you see a person with an instrument, they have a microphone for their voice and they have a microphone for the instrument. They have two signals that are going out to the sound that are coming to us, whether it's captured on a video or it's going to a live performance. But when people began to electrify their instruments, that took it in a whole different category. So let's just jump all the way to electrified. This instrument, if I turn the volumes all the way down, you can still hear there is some sound, there's some vibration. The strings are vibrating. They're going, but this is a solid body instrument. There's no box to shape and amplify the tone. But what this instrument does have is two sets of pickups. Now, these are different kinds of pickups. This one is a magnetic one because it's not touching the strings at all. It's hovering over the strings. I don't know. Let me get my hand under there. You can see that there's space between the string and the pickup. And then this pickup is a contact pickup. These are called ghost pickups. This is an EMG, and these are ghost pickups. And I have a little switch here. If I turn the volume up on, I turn the switch so it's only the back pickup. You can hear if I go to the front pickup, there's nothing happening because I got the volume all the way down on that. Now, if I turn the volume down on the back, turn the volume all the way up on the front, now we can hear there that this one is picking up the sound. When the switch was that way, it was this one. When the switch was this way, it was the front one. Now let's turn both of them all the way up and let's listen. There's a very subtle difference, and I have some effects going in the amplifier right now that might cover that up. And I can blend those so that I'm getting a mix of both of them, having a contact pickup, which is picking up physical vibrations of the strings and turning them into electrical signal, or having the magnetic pickup, which is reacting to the metal in the strings and dealing with the magnetic field. There's coils in here and there's a magnetic field, and then it's picking up those vibrations right here. And yes, it's an FAC tuning, and it sounds quite acoustic. That's nice. That's the sound that I like for this. Now, I could, of course, overdrive my signal by turning up the gain and using an amp setting. So I overdrive the signal and use a different amp setting, and I can get the classic sound of a distorted guitar. So it's possible to shape the tone. And that's why some people really like having that kind of a option in their in the what they're doing. Yes, this is an FAC tuning, an open chord tuning. But what we're talking about is how are the pickup, what's going on? And I'm combining these two, the electrical signal that's working magnetically and the electrical signal that's coming from the string actually vibrating to each one of these. These are the anchors that the string goes to, and this is common on a lot of electric instruments to have a different one, and these could be all compensated. You can see they're not the same distance away from the nut based on the gauge of the string in order for the harmonics to line up and all that. But as each string does its own vibration, these are being sent out as a single signal. Now, this is the electric version of this, and I don't have one of those pickups. I'm going to turn down my volume so I don't get that yucky sound that we don't want to have. And I'm going to put the electric one down for a minute, and I'm going to pick up my acoustic instrument. Now, right now, everything you're hearing is through this microphone and my, let's bring this down so you can see it into this view maybe a little bit. There we go. My Behringer mixed pair, which is set up to pick up the acoustic sound. And what's happening now is just the microphone signals, but I can also, because I have an undersaddle pickup right under here, there is a, let me see if I can get this up so you can see it. Look at the colors. The saddle itself is white, and then there's this little bit of different color right under there. You see that? That's where the contact pickup is. So it is transferring the vibration that comes from the strings to the bridge, and right underneath is the contact pickup, which is a piezo pickup. It's taking that vibration and turning it into an electrical signal. It's similar to the ghost pickups in the other instrument. So now I'm going to do a combination. So I have a combination of all the live microphones plus what's going on through my amplifier, this electrical signal. Now, somewhere in the late 70s, early 80s is what these started to be used in guitars, for example. And then you might see in the sound hole of a guitar a little, it looks like a little plastic cup, or it's a rubberized thing that covers the sound hole, because this created a feedback loop. The box of the instrument created the possibility of the sound was coming out of here into the microphones, plus it was going through there, and it created all kinds of feedback issues. And if you put that sound hole insert in, it'll let you have control over some of those issues. But one of the things that starts to sound like that doesn't sound the same as the non-electric signal. It does. It gets, because the pickup is right here, it gets a lot of high stuff. It's very crisp, it's very bright, and you're missing the whatever warmth of tone came from the rest of the body. If you have something under the saddle jug, it's probably that kind, but Jim is right. When you, just like when you pluck close to the bridge, you get I can't remember the name of this. in classical guitar, there's a particular sound you get there as opposed to over your strum hollow, as opposed to playing more in the middle of the instrument. It's a warmer, rounder tone here, and it gets thinner and brighter, and sometimes harsh, and sometimes brittle. There's a lot of words we use to describe sound, right? And sometimes the words are visual, and sometimes they're not. But what this lacks, it gives clarity, but what it lacks is the round tone of an acoustic instrument. So some people would, there was, oh, I can't, bye bye. I cannot remember the name of the maker, but there was an instrument that coming through the base of the instrument was a microphone that would be on a gooseneck, and it would stay in the middle of the instrument, so it would pick up the tone inside the instrument, and it tended to be very boomy and very very dark, all the bottom end and the mid tones, but not a lot of the highs. And so people were saying, well, now it sounds all like this. And so what there are people like LR Baggs, this is an LR Baggs pickup in here, created something that I use in my guitars called dual source, an anthem pickup, where there is something under the saddle, but there's also a microphone inside pointed at the bridge plate underneath. So it's getting both the pickup, the clarity of the strings, but it's also getting the warmth and roundness of tone underneath. And then, like the switch on my electric, I could move back and forth. I can blend that to my taste. So I can say I want some clarity, but I want the warmth, and I move that, I create those settings so that it does what I want from that. So that's kind of a short history of all the things that have happened. Now, in that process, there are also things that I've been seeing people ask about, because you can get run down a rabbit hole when you're doing sound reinforcement or trying to pick up your sound. And some people are looking for something as cheap as possible, and they will look and find things that work perfectly for them. They don't have a lot of money to get to try out a lot of things. And any of us who've done any of this have tried out things that don't work, and it costs money to try out things that don't work until we get to the ones that we like. But there are people will get lapel mics, and those have a little clip sometimes, and they'll clip it to their sound hole, usually on the outside, so it's out of the way of their strumming, but sometimes people put over here. There are also Barkus Berry was one of those early sound contact people or pickup makers who would have either like a suction cup or some way of you affix the pickup to the sound board, and it would pick up the vibrations of the sound board, so you get a little bit of the clarity, you get a little bit of the tone of what's going on, and they use that and plug it into some kind of an amplifier so you can hear. There was also, I used Pick Up the World from Levada, Colorado. They had like a mylar filament. They said it came from spy technology. Like you put this on the window of someplace and you could hear what people were saying inside. And they created them in all different sizes and lengths and thicknesses for different instruments. Okay, with putty. Yeah, that's another way that the pickup will fit on here. The Pick Up the World I never used on a mountain dulcimer, but I have used them on the hammer dulcimer. So let's switch. And it was a plastic film. And once again, because it's in contact with the instrument, you have to find the place where you want that to be. And I would put it right around in here for the most part. Some people tried the back of the instrument. It didn't get the clarity I was looking for. And I also noticed that wherever it was placed, those strings tended to be a little more hammer sound when I'd play. I get a much more percussive kind of sound. So I used that for several years, and it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. And then Dan Landrum was using K&K hotspots, which were little contact pickups, and you put one kind of on this side and one on that side. You'd find the place that you liked them, and then you drill a hole through your instrument so the little spot would be on the front, and coming through the back there would be a little blender that would hook with Velcro underneath your instrument, and you could blend these two tones, and that got close to a particular a sound that would approximate what an acoustic hammer dulcimer would sound like. I also have an instrument that has a pickup that's routed in under the treble bridge that you can use, and we're not going to talk about the signal chain today, but that pickup is passive, which means it only does the vibrations, and it's kind of like this kind of a sound. In order for it to pick up anything, it has to have some kind of an amplifier or a signal boost before it gets to the amplifier, and that's what we're going to talk about next week. We're not going to talk about this week, the signal chain. But the reason we got to this is Talon, and this is why I wanted to share. So let me go find the file I want to share with you first. Talon had found a way to do this, and let's see. Pick up. Oh, where is it? Come on. And of course, now I'm not going to be able to find it. Okay, let's just look at the picture that you sent, Talon. Okay, so this is what I want to share. The question that Talon had asked me, and I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. There may be many answers. This is what I want to look at. Is Talon has found a way to, instead of putting the pickup inside the instrument, to use these wood blocks so the magnetic pickup is sitting over top the strings. It serves the same function because it's interacting with the strings as it would if it was underneath. So my electric dulcimer has the pickup underneath the strings about the distance away. The Talon has his humbucking pickup sit over the top of it like this. And Talon, if you're here and would like, you don't feel like you have to, but you shared a video of you using this kind of a pickup system for the sounds. If you'd like, I don't want to share it without your permission. So if you'd like to share that in the chat, feel free to do that. The one caveat is if you put it here, it's going to be here. So I don't know if you want people to hear what's happening, but I think what you're doing is really cool. So I think it'd be cool, but that's up to you. Jerry Rockwell is another person who uses these kind of pickups. I don't know if you heard Steven Seifert in the last Quarantune Festival. In his concert, he was playing with more electrified kind of sound. When we have acoustic sound, we have some options for tone, and that has to do with where our hands are placed, what kind of a picks we're using, what kind of a strength of the strum, and all those kind of questions. How clean our fingering is. But when you're using an electric version of what's happening, and let's turn this back up. And I have a little bit of a chorused effect on here. Okay, yours is removable, and you can move it to get different tone. Like Jim was saying, if it's right close to the bridge, you're going to get one particular tone. If you move across, you could put it in the middle right here and play behind it, right? And your hands could still do all the movement they would need. Let me shift you could put your pickup right in the middle, sort of around the 10th fret, do all your fingering here and play behind, and you're going to pick up a particular kind of tone right there, because of the string, and you could move it this way. You could put it behind where you play, and it would have a different kind of a sound too. There it is. Thank you, Talon, very much. So Talon has got a recording of Brahms' Lullaby, Joe Collins arrangement, using this pickup and doing some fun things with it. So I'm going to put a like on that. I really am grateful for you sharing that with us and engaging with the topic question, because I've seen in several other forums this past week several people asking these questions. Now, this is all about capturing the sound. It's not about sharing it yet. And that's where we get the signal chain. But what I want to do right now is show you that I do have a whole series. Nope, not there. I've got to look in my courses. In the new Dulcimer Crossing site, so you want to be heard. This was focused on amplifying your mountain dulcimer. And so let me share my screen. So this is the lesson series that talks about, so I want to be heard, and it goes through the introduction, different microphones, condenser microphones using contact pickups or undersaddle pickups. This gets into the signal chain using a direct box and adding effects and things like that. So this is one of the lessons. It's on the current Dulcimer Crossing site, but this is what it looks like in the new one. And okay, we stopped sharing. All the members, this is a word just for members of Dulcimer Crossing, all the members of Dulcimer Crossing have been moved into the new site. And for this next period, until we have the official launch in the middle of September, every member, it doesn't matter what level you were before, every member now has access to all the membership levels. So DIY, the workshop level, and the mentorship level where you get to schedule a lesson. So for this period of time, this is one of those opportunities. If you'd like to become a Dulcimer Crossing member right now, you could choose the lowest cost membership level, but until the middle of September, you'll have access to everything on the site. And then in September, you'll have to choose which level you want to be at going forward, because it's a subscription. So that's one of those things that's available right now. And let me go to the Dulcimer Crossing site, and this is what it looks like. If you go there, you go to dulcimercrossing.simplero.com to get to the new site. So if you have not been a member of Dulcimer Crossing before, this is your opportunity to take a look at the new place. And this is what the homepage looks like when you get there. Now, here's what I wanted to talk about. Tomorrow, we have the first of our monthly live events. Matthew Dickerson is going to talk about hammers and hammering. He does have a workshop on hammers and hammering already in our site, but this is an opportunity for him to focus. He loves this topic, and I asked him to teach whatever it is he loves. And so he's going to be teaching this. And it's an opportunity. It's a Zoom workshop, but it's only for members of Dulcimer Crossing. So this is the perfect time to join at the least expensive level and have access to this workshop. When you have access to the workshop, you also have access to all, let's keep going. There we go. You got to log in first. When you have access to that, you also have access in the live events tab. These are the upcoming ones. And what you do is, when you're a member, you click on this and here's the link right here to come to the workshop. If you want a reminder, you can add it to your calendar so you don't forget. And you can add it to Google, Apple, Yahoo, or download the ICS file that you can add to an Outlook or some other calendar that you use. Okay, so let's go back. And you also have access to all the workshop archive. So in our workshop archive, we have all the workshops that have happened so far. We hosted the Chromatic Dulcimer Mountain Dulcimer Summit Roundtable. That's in here. We also archive all of our Wednesday live streams here. And so since this started at the beginning of COVID, we do that. We also have the Leap Forward in Your Musical Understanding. And then we have some live events that have taken place since 2016. So workshop student or members have access to all of these all of the time. But during this particular time, you have access. And so that's what I want to let you know about that. Also, one other thing, Redwood Dulcimer Day is happening this week, and it is very different than what we thought it was going to be. So I want to invite you to take a look at this. Registration for workshops has already closed. However, if you really want to beg hard, you might be able to get in. Today is the day the teachers need to send their information to the students. But we had Lois Hornbostel and Ahukai Tevez as our headliners, but it turned out no matter what they tried all summer, they couldn't get good internet in their holler in North Carolina. And so last week they ended up saying, I'm sorry, we can't do it, which meant there had to be a hard pivot. And Neil Hellman, kudos to Neil Hellman, who organizes this for the community music school. He picked up a couple of other teachers, and now Peggy Broussard is going to do some Cajun music. She's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Stephen Seifert is going to do a master class. I'm teaching what Lois's Mountain Dulcimer American Roots class, Southern Appalachian roots music on dulcimers. Dusty is teaching one of the blues classes. So we have several different instructors than were originally on the plan. And the concert that is Friday night, which is open even if you don't want to come to the workshops, is going to feature all of these people instead of just our headliners, because we don't have any headliners this year. So this is an opportunity for you too. So let me so Doug, you're saying only one of your classes changed. Good. It looks like most of the people stayed with the class. I said just use Lois's title, and I would do my best. I'm not from Southern Appalachia. I'm a revivalist. I am not one of the people that grew up there, but I have a big library, and so that's what I'll be doing. And then this is what I wanted to share. No, I didn't. Okay. And then here is the login for dulcimercrossing.simplero.com. And just to say, we will, at Dulcimer Crossing, the current site as it is will continue to be operative all the way through the end of September. And so if you are there and you don't want to change anything, you'll have access and everything will continue to work. All the billing for the new site needs to be set in place by the 12th of September. And so this is the time to make those decisions so that after the 12th, all the billing will be handled by the new system, and we'll turn off all the old billing so you don't get double charged. We're working really hard for that. We're also working really hard to make sure you don't lose access to the content that you have had before, as well as have a chance to sample all the stuff. So thank you for your attention today. And thank you, Talon. I love your story here about what you did. Thank you. Boy, you typed a lot in there. That's excellent. And so I would suggest anybody interested in looking for a removable magnetic pickup for your dulcimers, contact Talon right here on Facebook, because he's worked with it and has demonstrated very nicely. So that's great. And I will plan to see you next week. We're going to talk about signal chain next week and what happens after you get this sound. Got it picked up. What are we going to do with it? You picked up. Now, where are you going to go? So thank you for joining us. As always, this will be archived on our Dulcimer Crossing Facebook page. It's going to be archived on dulcimercrossing.simplero.com, our new site. Eventually, when you go to Dulcimer Crossing, it'll go to the new site. So that's the way that's all going to work. You won't have to type in Simplero, but for this particular time when both sites are active, you need to do that. And this has been Picking Up Our Sound. And thank you for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful week and your sound gets picked up.